At First Ascents, there are two immutable beliefs. We believe in the healing power of outdoor adventure and community, and we believe that everyone deserves to experience beautiful wild places, regardless of the color of their skin, their zip code, or who they love, period. However, we recognize and acknowledge that First Ascents operates at the confluence of two industries with systemic inequities: healthcare and outdoor recreation. We know that the outdoor industry is predominantly white, and the next generation of outdoor professionals can and should be more representative of the American population. This is a massive challenge, and we are committed to learning and working with organizations like Brooklyn to Alaska, who are pioneers in this space, modeling the way for others. Brooklyn to Alaska provides a pathway for BIPOK youth from Brooklyn to create transformative, life-defining experiences while forging lasting connections in the rugged wilderness of Alaska. They believe that inequities in outdoor recreation will only change if there is systemic investment in equipping BIPOK youth with the skills and experience they need to be the next generation of wilderness leaders, guides, and protectors of our wild places. Brooklyn to Alaska is closing the gap to adventure by reimagining access to the outdoors, and I'm honored to introduce their story to you, our First Ascents community.
My name is Samuel Coulissin-Larriere.
James Ambrose.
Paris Dixon-Gibbons.
Joan Lapaya.
It's Matthew Millian. I'm 18 from Brooklyn, New York, and I became a member of Brooklyn to Alaska in 2019. Originally, I started as a participant, but then I became a leader. And one of the most memorable lines that I've heard in my time as a leader is, "No pressure, but if you let go of that rock, you'll kill us all." And this line resonated with me because up to that point, I was just doing perilous work, and I was somewhat confused about why I kept going. Like, I wasn't sure if there was going to be any reward physically or not. And I decided to go and ask the lead guide, why does he do this work? And he told me, sympathetic joy. Sympathetic joy is the happiness you get from seeing someone else happy and in their best position. And as a guide, I didn't really understand that until the following year when I was able to lead a group of 14 boys. And seeing all of them kind of happy, and even though we've walked like a 10-mile stretch, still cracking jokes and living their best lives, that made me feel like the sympathetic joy that that guide was talking about.
For the past couple of years, we've all been experiencing the same sort of vicarious joy that Matt has just talked about. And both Brooklyn to Alaska and First Ascents and Rios to Rivers are all about spreading that type 2 fun and bridging the gap to the outdoors. So it is an incredible honor and our great pleasure to be here this weekend, and we have to extend a massive thank you to First Ascents and our audience, you all, for listening to what we have to say.
What Brooklyn to Alaska does is we take diverse youth from marginalized communities, we take them to Alaska free of charge. We go hiking, we go camping, we go ice climbing, and the trip culminates in a 5-day river trip where, at the end of which, they experience some of the most insane rapids in North America. But as Brooklyn to Alaska ran these trips, we realized that there was a gap. The people who were guiding the kids didn't look anything like them. We created the leadership program to bridge that gap. Since 2020, we've been taking participants who showed interest and promised, and we take them to Alaska to train them. And since 2020, the leadership team has learned how to prepare meals, make itineraries, deal with conflict management, act like role models to these young children. And I would say the thing I'm most proud of is we not only can take participants and lead them through a wilderness trip, but we can take young leaders and train them as well.
The girls' trip started later than the boys and it's currently in progress. This past summer, being a leader has brought so much compassion to my character. To know that I have left an impact on young women of color experiencing things that they never thought they would really gives me hope that there will be more exposure to our community and the community of Alaska. Summer of 7th grade was my very first time in Alaska, and it absolutely blew my mind. So much so that each year I made it my duty to ask if I could return. And 4 years later, I got that miracle call from Miss Lisa Renee, assistant of the girls' trip, notifying me that I could be a mentor. And this was the best news that I received. And all I could talk about was going back to Alaska for the second time. And being a leader, part of my job was to help the younger girls when they were struggling emotionally and physically, just like I was summer of 2018. One story that I hold near and dear to my heart is one of the most strenuous hikes that I had ever been on. I had been warned that it was going to be a little long and a little challenging, and I figured, okay, we've hiked before, there's no big deal. However, it was nothing like I expected. As we kept going and walking, and as I got hotter and sweat poured down my back and my eyes, I just wanted to quit and go home. But when I looked around me, I noticed that the other girls were struggling too, and I just immediately broke down. But then when I broke down, a warm community formed around me, and they reassured me that I'm gonna get through it. And I did. We did together. And in that moment, I not only was satisfied by the community that I had around me, but from that moment on, it taught me that I could do anything that I put my mind to. And this program has done so much for me, and I could talk about it for days. How it grew my character, how I'm able to do things I never thought I could do. And I hope this program is able to show more young women of color how they can get through anything that they put their minds to.
During 2019, in my 8th grade classroom, I entered my classroom, and the room was being shown in video from the Brooklyn to Alaska program. The video showed a participant, Taylor, who was struggling with some confidence issues and overall well-being. And throughout the video, and the end of the video, we could see him resolve those issues and become a better person because of Alaska and because of the program. And after seeing my enthrallment and excitement with the video, my math teacher at the time and director of the program, Matthew Stokes, invited me to the program and into Alaska, and I said yes. During my first year of the program, I was able to observe and be led by 2 amazing guides, Tim and Jesse. During my time with them, I was able to see how they led and how they were leaders. When they led, they not only listened to us, but they respected us as well, treating us as equals and not as participants. And they gave a lot of values and a lot of information on the water and as leaders. They always kept the idea that we are stronger as a team rather than as individuals. We each have special and unique skills that provide to the team and make us better as a whole rather than as individuals. And they also stress the idea that success is necessary, but perfection isn't. When you're on the water, you can't control much. You can't control how fast the water goes, how fast the boat goes, or how the participants react. Only thing you can control is how you react and how you present yourself to the participants. And during that time, when it was cold or when it was rainy, or we were sad, or we missed home, they always kept us uplifted and motivated through their leadership and through their hope within us and in themselves. And I think that's what being a guide is all about, keeping the group together even when times are rough, or when people are sad, or when things aren't going well. During my 2020 trip, I was able to guide 2 amazing and wonderful participants, Kobe and Andrew. And during my time with them, those 2 weeks, I was able to see them grow from participants to leaders in training. And I was able to see them grow as people, physically and mentally. Alaska will do that to you. I was able to see them keep a good attitude and be uplifted and keep the group together, even when times were tough. When it was rainy, or they sit on the boat for 5 hours or more, or when they had to walk like 5+ miles a day, they still were happy and kept making jokes and kept the group together even when times were tough. I think they represent what a guide is supposed to be, someone that keeps the group together even when everyone is not having the best time. And they showed the values of grit, determination, teamwork, and leadership. And I think having those values instilled in the program will allow for more guides to be a part of the program and more participants to be able to learn those values, and will allow for more people in the wilderness to have those connections and memories, same as me and my fellow leaders.
As Jonah just mentioned, we have this year introduced 2 new leaders to our brotherhood. There's so many things I could say that I love about Brooklyn to Alaska, but at the absolute top of that list is the bond I have with the leaders. But it wasn't always that way. When I joined in 2020, it was a gritty trip. It was raining, it was cold, it was uncomfortable. We were doing all these new things, but I have always been okay with being uncomfortable and being in nature. That has always been an environment that I've been okay in, but I was having a lot of trouble connecting. In my head, I was thinking, yeah, Brooklyn to Alaska, like, it's nice, but obviously I don't belong here. Over the 3 weeks that we were there, the first 2 weeks got rainier and colder, and the training only got harder. People got more irritable, and I felt more and more isolated. This one night, all the guys were laughing and joking in a tent. It was drizzling, and it was the perfect time to just be cozy and laughing and goofing off. And I was a few feet away in my own tent alone, reading and pretending like I was okay with, not being included. Until one of the guys goes, "Hey, where's Sam? Get over here." And that moment, something kind of just lifted in me. I went in and we laughed and we joked, and it was a good old time. And that was when I knew that I was part of this community. I was included and I belonged here. And now there are few things I value more than the bond I have with my brothers.
Before each summer, our director Sam always asks us the same question. Do you think you're ready to lead the trip on your own? And I don't know about you all, but to me, that sounds like, can you handle business whether or not something goes wrong? So for the past couple of years, I've been dealing with this question thinking, theoretically, yes. I mean, we have all the training. We've all run trips from start to finish, from planning itinerary to planning meals, to cooking the meals, to rigging boats, loading trailers, actually doing the rowing and reading of the water. We have several wilderness first responders and EMTs, and we all have whitewater rescue training. But still, nothing had really gone wrong yet. Until the flip. So last summer, we ended up taking our moms on the same trip that we lead the participants on, ending in a 5-day river trip down the Nizina. And on the last day, I'm proud to say that I flipped the very first boat of the Brooklyn to Alaska Leadership Program. And as the boat flipped and I surfaced, I remember the first 2 things on my mind being my boat and my passengers. And as I saw Sam in the boat following me, before I even had to say anything, he pointed downstream, and I automatically knew that my boat and the only other passenger I couldn't see were downstream. And so, I turned to my right, I saw my other guide, and all I had to say was, "You ready?" And with a quick response, I knew we were on the same page. And so, we made our way across the river, swimming against the current from bank to bank to get back to the rest of our team. And all I can remember is coming out of the water and seeing my mom and her coming to hug me, and I just crumbled under the weight of all my mistakes, and the only thing on my mind was how I almost killed 2 of the most important people in my life. And I just wanted to curl up into a little ball and let everything disappear and just be my mom's son again. And then all of a sudden I didn't. Because in that moment, I realized that this was exactly what I had trained for. This is what I had spent those 3 years on the river doing nothing but reading water and rowing and doing all of those flip drills. This is what it was for. and I couldn't just sit here in my mom's arms while my team was waiting for me. We weren't those 14-year-old kids being guided anymore. We were the guides.
These stories are such a small percentage of what the wilderness can do for people that look like us. Brooklyn to Alaska and First Descents can pave the way for more access to the outdoors and changing lives.